mann om Jan Baalsruds flukt fra nazistene under andre verdenskrig. And I'm honored to stand here with a very distinguished gentleman, Mr. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. Some of you might know him from Vikings. He's also been in movies such as Match Point by Woody Allen. He's worked with J.J. Abrams. And now he's here in Oslo in a Norwegian movie. So the obvious first question is, how come an Irish movie star is playing a German in a Norwegian movie? What's the story behind that?
Well, I've known Harald Svart for a while because we made a film together in 2012. And he came to me with this project. He said, I want to make this film called The 12th Man. It's about a very famous historical character in Norway called Jan Baalsrud, who managed to, through a great self-sacrifice, managed to escape from the German army to Sweden to rejoin his partisans and to help in the liberation of Norway. So when Harald came to me and he says, I want you to play the part of the Gestapo policeman who is chasing him, Kurt Stager. I don't play heroes because I don't look like one. I look like a villain, so I play them. So when Harald asked me to do this, I said, of course. But then about 2 months before we were going to shoot, I was making Vikings in Ireland. And Harald rang me and said, yeah, we're getting the film prepared and we've already shot some of it with the wonderful Thomas. But I was wondering, can we switch from English to German?
Okay, 2 months before shooting.
2 months, yeah. So I said, so you want all the dialogue in German? He said, can you do that? And so for about 3 weeks beforehand, I started doing the German dialogue. And we did it. It made it more complicated. Obviously, it made it more of a process when I got into the ADR room. But I think it's beneficial for the film. It gives an authenticity. It gives a real-time element to the movie. I'm sure I'll get a lot of criticism from the German-speaking world.
You don't speak German?
I don't speak German at all. No, not a lick.
So you just had to learn every line, just to learn how to say them?
Well, I had to learn how to say them properly. There are tonal changes with any language, so you can pick out who speaks the language and who is learning to speak the language. So I'm sure I'll get a lot of criticism from that point of view. But just learning the dialogue just to say it, no, you have to learn what it means. You have to learn how to say it in maybe a dozen different ways. So it's not just learning how to say a line. That's not going to work on film. You have to bring a little bit of emotion. Even though sort of like playing a Nazi, you can hold back on that emotion a lot more and make it very practical and very cold, which is advantageous to an actor who doesn't actually naturally speak the language that they're performing in.
I see.
You've seen it all over the world.
Yeah.
But we do expect actors from all over the world to be able to come and speak our language, I suppose English. So, yeah, it was my challenge this time. That's all.
So you've done a lot of movies previously, but I've never seen you prance about in a black trench coat like that before. What was it like to wear that Nazi uniform day in and day out?
I hated the Nazi uniform, to be honest with you. No, I really didn't like it at all. And I remember the first morning in Lingam when I put it on, it's just so awful. There's something about it that, because I suppose because I've grown up with it and I've seen it in film and documentary and I've seen it my whole life, and of course I was told that the Second World War was a terrible thing and the Nazis were terrible people and such. So it's like wearing a Nazi uniform, I suppose, can have the same connotations as if you were, Ku Klux Klan. It's the same thing. It's one of these uniforms around the world which kind of has a connotation to it that is a negative. So when you put that uniform on, there is a strange sort of feeling one gets. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because, maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just a feeling. Maybe it's an emotion that we have attached to a piece of clothing. Yeah. But when you see it, when you see the German helmet, when you see the German uniform, you're immediately there. It's effective. I suppose this is... Hugo Boss was a very talented clothes designer. I think he designed because they're incredibly effective. From the moment you see it, you know exactly what it is, you know exactly where you are. So when I came up to Lingen to shoot the film, I knew what I was going to do as an actor, but it's not until you put that uniform on and you put the leather coat on and the scars that suddenly you start to melt into the character that you're playing, and it becomes more natural for you to do so.
And of course, you shot on location in northern Norway. Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah. It did. As I said, I'd made a film 23 years ago in the north of Sweden, so very similar geography, very similar weather, but nice people, incredibly supportive. They'd already shot 90% of the film when I came in. I finished the film with my stuff. So I was surprised how energetic, how active, how focused the crew were, because I was coming in at the end of it. Whenever you come in at the end of a film to perform your part, everybody's been doing it for a long time. They're tired. They're trying to get, and they gave so much energy to me. I really was very, very grateful to everybody.
And this is your second movie with Harald Schwartz, because you were always also in Mortal Instruments a few years back. What is he like working with?
Yeah, it's very easy for me to work with Harald because he's been doing it so long, and I've been doing it so long that I don't need to worry about Harald, and Harald doesn't really need to worry about me. You know, he gives me a scenario. He doesn't have to ask me. The thing is, you know, he doesn't have to ask me like, what's my motivation? You know, you hear this from actors all the time. What's my motivation? I've never worked with a director who's asked me what my motivation was in my entire fucking career. That's 23 years. I've never been asked. Because if you don't understand your motivation, you shouldn't be playing the role at all. It's practical. It's there in front of you in black and white. That's your motivation. Or you go to work or you get paid. That's your motivation. So myself and Harald cannot have to worry about each other. As a director, this is advantageous to him because he doesn't have to worry about holding hands with an actor through a performance, because he's got so many other things to think about. And because I have a director that knows how to edit and he knows how to shoot, I don't have to worry about some first-time director that might be fucking it up. Harald knows what he's doing, I know what I'm doing, so we can let each other do what we have to do and then not worry about each other so much. And I think that can be an advantage, especially for the role of Kurt Starger, because Kurt Starger has to come in and be immediately effective for the story to work.
And he was a real guy?
Yeah. I mean, he's a footnote in history. He's not an important Nazi or anything. He was executed in Czechoslovakia in 1946. He was hung. So there's very little practical research that you can do online, really, about Kurt Starger. You know? So I had to create the character from what I felt about the situation itself.
Okay, and where will we see you after this? What's your next?
I shot a film in Venice this year called The Aspirin Papers, from a Henry James novel with Vanessa Redgrave and Jolie Richardson. Wow. And I just finished a film called The Holy Lands, directed by Amanda Stair, with James Caan and Tom Hollander playing the protagonists in that one. And I've just been daddy. I have a son, so I've been a father for 2 months.
Oh wow!
Oh, well, I've been a father for a year, but for the last 2 months, it's just been me and my son at our house. Yeah, so it's been wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so much, and good luck. Yeah.
Bye bye Facebook.
Det var altså Jonathan Rhys Meyers, den irske filmstjerna, som har